Good evening everyone. Second night of cooking tonight on TikTok. So I just, first off again, it's safety first. So I've got my microfiber cloth down here, which is wet. Stop your chopping board from slipping everywhere. Tonight we are going to be making pork meatballs in a caramelised onion, red wine and cranberry sauce, alongside crushed new potatoes with garlic. So first things we're going to do first is the meatballs are going to go into the air fryer. So I've got my air fryer tray and I've put baking paper on. That way it won't stick to the pan. This is a meal for 4 people tonight. I got the meatballs actually on a red sticker, so it made them a lot cheaper. You can do it by buying pork mince yourself, rolling it with some breadcrumbs and some seasoning, which is just salt and pepper. That's what this says. This is seasoned with just salt and pepper. So we'll get them in there. If you don't like pork or aren't able to eat pork, you could always do it with turkey mince. So we'll put them on there, and I'm going to put them on 170 degrees in the air fryer. I've got the meatballs going for 7 minutes in there at the moment. So what we'll do before we have to turn them over is we'll get the baby potatoes ready. So all we're going to do is put them in a pan. They should fit in, hopefully. That's it. And I'm just going to get some cold water and put them on the hob so they can start boiling. I've put a bit of salt in the pan for seasoning. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the onions ready for caramelising. So we've just got to fry them off in a little bit of oil. Got me pot for me rush. So all we're going to do is thinly slice these. So we're just going to take the top off again, cut them in half, and peel the onions, take the skin off. Like so. Pork mince is relatively cheap to buy. I think I did look while I was shopping. Pork mince is about £2.50 for 500 grams, so that makes it quite an inexpensive meat. They didn't have any turkey mince in there for me to see, so I couldn't actually see the price of them. Now that the onions are all peeled, I've seen a few videos on TikTok with people cutting their food and veg, fruit and veg, and they kind of put their fingers here and they get very, very close to the knife, or they're holding it from the edge, and if you're holding it from the end it makes everything rather slippery. So the best way to cut is to put your fingers in like that, dig them in, so that when you get close to the edge, the knife runs down your fingers, so it stops it when there's only a little bit left. So that's the best way to cut an onion, or most vegetables, to be honest with you. It looks a little bit bad there because I was kind of doing it backwards. Especially when you've got a really sharp knife. Mine's really, really sharp. It's not very old, so I haven't had to. I've only had to sharpen it once. So that would literally cut straight through your finger. You'd be in a lot of pain with that one. What we've got to do now is we've got the pan, little frying pan here. Just put a drizzle of oil in. You really don't need much because we don't want to flood it. So it's a nice non-stick pan. Drizzle of oil. And then what we'll do is we'll put this on the hob. I made a little judgment error with the potatoes. There was too many potatoes for that small pot, so I have to quickly transfer it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put the pan there, heat up the oil. You don't want it on up on that heat because otherwise you're going to end up burning it. When your oil starts getting up to temperature, put your onions in. You start hearing them sizzle a little bit. If it's a little bit, you know that it's not too high. And then all we're going to do is break them up, mix them around, and they are just going to cook until they've sweated down a little bit. So we don't want them on too long, but we don't want them on too short a period of time, otherwise they're going to be raw, as these are only going to go over the top, more like a garnish than anything else. I would like to just do a little shout out to my doggy. He's 8 years old today. It's 7 years of giving us nothing but grief. He was a rescue dog, so we got him at 7 years old. Sorry, at 1 year old. So we've had him for 7 years this September, but it's actually his birthday today. So the onions are starting to come on now. As I said before, we don't want them to get burned. They'll just go to the side because they'll be finished off a bit later on. So we'll leave them off the heat now. As you can see, the meatballs are out of the air fryer. Be very careful when turning these because they do have a tendency to break. So just give them all a turn over. I will pause the video here and turn them over because it takes a couple of minutes. Now they're all turned over, I'm going to put them back in the air fryer for another 7 minutes at 170, just to get them cooking on the other side. Whilst we're doing this, we're going to get the red wine ready to simmer down. So I have just got a cheap bottle of wine. I think this one cost me about £3.50. You don't need expensive wine to make a sauce because all you're going to do is reduce it down and it's not going to taste the same that normal wine does. So for the amount that I need of this, I am going to put it probably about 3/4 of a bottle in. Something like that. About 3/4 of a bottle. It's up to about here left of the bottle. So, and this is just going to go onto the stove and it's going to simmer. All we're going to do is put this on a medium-high heat. It won't take long for it to start simmering. As soon as the potatoes are starting to boil, what we'll do is we'll add some lazy garlic to it. My daughter just made me a lovely cup of coffee. It's well deserved in this heat in this kitchen. Who needs a cold drink when you can have a nice hot coffee? So now the red wine, it's been on for quite a while. It's starting to bubble up, as you can see. And now what we need to do is we just need to turn it down to the lowest heat, otherwise it will just reduce down to nothing and end up with just a burnt pan. So that's not what we want. So we're just going to let that bubble right down, simmer. We want that to be probably about half of what it is. So obviously the steam's going to make it come out, so about half. We don't want too much of it because otherwise it would just be a waste. Now that the potatoes are boiling, I'm going to add a nice heaped teaspoon of lazy garlic to it. I wasn't going to do garlic potatoes, but this was actually requested to me by my partner. So, of course, I'm going to do what she says. As you can see, that's all floating around nicely in the saucepan. What I'm going to do next is I'm just going to add some mixed herbs to the red wine. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. It's just something that I really fancy tonight. So this recipe isn't exact. You can do as you want with it. So the mixed herbs that I'm using literally is just a jar of mixed herbs. I'm not putting a lot in. I'm just sprinkling some. Don't want too much at all. It's just to add a different bit of flavour. Red wine sauce in itself is quite sour if you're going to have it on a meal, so you can sweeten it up if you want to. You can add a bit of sugar if you just want a red wine sauce, but as I said earlier on, I've got cranberry, so that's going to be the sweetener for my sauce. Time for the meatballs to come out the air fryer again. We'll have a look and then we'll turn them again, because we don't want them to just cook on one side and we know that they're not ready yet. So what I'll do is I'll go and pause it again and quickly turn them all over. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put them on for 5-minute intervals just to make sure they don't burn, because I would imagine that they are over halfway cooked by now. The potatoes are doing their thing now, so basically all we need to do is just get a small knife, doesn't have to be a big knife, sharp knife, and stick them in. If the knife goes through the potato with no hesitation at all, then you know the potatoes are going to be cooked. These ones here, still not cooked properly, most likely another good 5 minutes. I'm glad I paused the camera when I did, because I actually had quite a lot of trouble opening the lid, so of the cranberry sauce. So basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of cranberry sauce in here. Within a couple of minutes that cranberry sauce will all be reduced down and it will go in with the wine sauce. So now there are no more lumps in the red wine sauce. It's all reduced down nicely. What we'll do is we're just going to turn that down to a very low heat, because we don't want it to be burning. So once again, meatballs have just finished. So we'll take them out, have a look. I'm not going to turn them again. I know they're not stuck. So I'm just going to let them cook again for another 5 minutes. So I'm just going to put them back in. Oh, slam the doors, Jamie. That's it. And now I'm going to put the onions back on. I'm going to put them on a very low heat. Don't want them high at all. Don't want them burning, just want them warming up. Check the potatoes again. And the potatoes are nice and soft. So they just literally fall back off your knife. That's what you want. So I'm going to go ahead and strain the potatoes. The potatoes are now ready to be mashed, and I am about to commit the biggest crime in the kitchen. I forgot to buy butter. So I'm having to use some margarine for this one. So I'm just going to take a bit of marge. The good thing is with these potatoes, they're not going to be smooth and creamy whatsoever. It is literally put your butter in, or your margarine for me, terrible I know, and just literally takes a little bit of a push, crush. So that's the potatoes crushing. The problem it's going to be is you'll get the skin attached, like so, to your masher. So you have to keep tapping it off, otherwise it won't go through, and all you're doing is pushing it down. It seems like I'm putting more on the side than what's in the pan, but nevertheless, it really does not have to be properly mashed, just to get all the potatoes in there crushed. And that's basically what it should look like. So everything's cooked, so what we're going to do is we're just going to dish it up. So I'm going to do 1 plate of dish up, and then I will do the rest afterwards. So we've got the potato. Just put it in. You want this to be so you can put your meatballs in the middle, have your sauce, and then your sauce will start running through it. So you want to sort of even it out, like so. That's probably enough for one person. So now we'll go and get the meatballs. And look at those. They look absolutely delicious. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the portion of meatballs in the middle. For this one, we can have 6 each, because there was 24 meatballs. So 6 meatballs each. Just push it in there like so, so that you've got that there. And then I'm going to get the onion. I'm going to put a bit of onion on the top, like so. And then I'm going to go and get the sauce. As you can see, the sauce has reduced down quite a lot. That's what we want. I'm just going to use this same spoon here that I used on there to save from washing up. And all I'm going to do is drizzle it over the top, like so. And that there will start coming out and you can coat your mashed potatoes with it, and that is it. That is an easy cook pork meatballs, crushed new potatoes. Thank you.